Hello, my name is Emma. Monthly challenges are so common in the artist community. There are so many that it's hard to keep track. Huevember, Mermaid, Inktober, all intended for you to draw every day for 31 days straight. I have attempted most of these challenges and failed every single time. Not one have I completed entirely. I always get burned out or lose interest from the very beginning. But the first day of October rolled around and I stumbled upon the prompt list for cringetober. Never heard of it before, but some of these ideas were really up my alley, so impulsively I decided I'm going to complete this challenge. The whole thing. I was determined, I was ready, so I started day one. Let's get going since there's a lot to go over. Now, I knew from the beginning that I needed to pace myself appropriately. If I did anything that was way too much to finish in a day or something that really didn't go the way I wanted it to, I would lose motivation completely. So I stayed way in my comfort zone for the most part. I also knew I wanted to make a finished piece every day, whatever that meant for context. And I think I pulled it off, but I'm getting ahead of myself. For day one, I drew my OC Edward. If you watched my redesign video, you know him. If you haven't, go watch it. After you finish this one though, haha. He's the only OC I have with Heterochromia currently, so he seemed the best option. I will almost always draw my OCs for these prompts if I could, so if you like OCs, you'll like this. If you don't, I don't know why you're on my channel right now. When I posted these on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, I think this was the only one I posted on YouTube Shorts, some were kind of confused in the comments as to why this condition is labeled cringe. It's not cringe. Different colored eyes is just something associated with the art community and what some of us did to make our OCs more interesting or cool. This was eventually perceived as cringe or associated with Mary Sue's. That's why it's on this list. So having heterochromia is not cringe. It's actually really cool. So I hope no one felt like I was making fun of them or something. I think this was the only rendering I did where I painted completely over the sketch. I noticed that I do like the look, but it takes a lot longer to complete. I did a really close-up pose so I didn't have to worry about rendering too much, but I like how this turned out. It's not my favorite, but not a bad start. Hey, if I knew about Digital Circus at this time, I probably would have done something way different, but here we are. I wanted to do something a little goofy, so I chose Ratatouille. What would I be if I was in this movie? A background waitress, of course. It took everything in my power not to just make an original character for this, since I tend to not find myself very interesting. I don't really do self-inserts at all, so it was challenging to try to make myself interesting, if that makes sense. She kind of looks like me. I tried to replicate the style of the movie and concept art, but I gotta be honest, it's a bit of a fail, guys. But I'm proud of myself for continuing because I really hate how this one turned out. And I hate the sketches. It just reminds me of how I used to draw when I was like 15 and it was really bugging me, so moving on. Here's the first day of drawing my fave, Jane. You're gonna see her a lot in this video. She's just so dang fun to draw. I can't help it. I can't help it. She is also from my redesigning middle school OCs video. If you want to know more, I explain it in both these parts, but the gist is that she's a time traveler along with her friends Margot and Emmett, who are all from a different time period. I guess this outfit isn't that complicated, I'll admit, but I tried to focus on details I don't usually fixate on, like patterns and accent details. I thought I didn't like to add those kinds of details, but in this piece, it taught me that I actually don't mind it, especially if you have some custom brushes to help you out. I'm also bad at backgrounds. It's something I've struggled with forever. I finish a drawing and then spend what feels like hours trying to decide what to put in the back. I found that duplicating and blowing up the drawing, then lowering the opacity and adding stars or sparkles does the trick. I reuse that a lot, but hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Yeah. I love how this one turned out so much. She's just so and this outfit suited her way more than I thought it would, so I love her. I love her. The return of the OCs, Bella and Charlie. They are some of my oldest OCs I've kept up with, and they used to be my my go-tos until these goofballs were created, so sorry babes, sorry. Bella and Charlie have a complicated relationship, and I've noticed recently that I need to touch up on their storyline real bad. But the rundown is that Bella is a secret singer named Ophelia. Yeah, you know, Hannah Montana vibes. No one knows her identity. Charlie is Bella's childhood friend whose band goes to the big time, and suddenly his band and Ophelia are on the same tour together. Charlie has no idea about her identity, drama, angst, all that good stuff. But for this prompt, obviously all that is kind of thrown out the window. But I thought this was really perfect for them. Charlie is kind of flirty and Bella's a bit more flustered. But yeah, they're not canonically dating, by the way. I didn't put that much thought into these designs. I whipped something up pretty quick and found a post on Pinterest to use. I don't really love this one. I don't hate it, but it's just meh to me. I think I could have done much better. But it's Bella and Charlie, so I can't hate it that much. Now, I feel like a bit of a fraud. I couldn't actually use MS Paint for this one. I know. But I didn't want to get doxxed, you know? Because someone got doxxed for their art having the MS Paint toolbar. No? Okay, tough crowd. Anyway, I couldn't download it on the computer I was using, so I decided I'll just use Procreate with this custom MS Paint brush pack and only using one layer. I hope that's good enough. I really wish I could have used MS Paint, but oh well. I don't know how niche this one is. I know anything recommended to you is kind of like an echo chamber, but I love the podcast Emergency Intercom.
Pure imagination.
It's one of my go-tos for noise. Not that it's just noise, just that I usually put it on when I'm doing something or want comfort. I don't know. Drew and Enya always make me laugh, so it was overdue that I drew them. I'm a Drewther, what can I say? I have to spread it. I just took a screenshot of one of the episodes to use as a reference and got going. Using one layer was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. It was challenging, don't get me wrong, but I do use one layer quite often, so it wasn't that bad. I used a different color for the sketch so I could fill it in with white once I finished the line art. These two are very drawable. They mesh well with my style for sure. I sometimes have problems with likenesses, you'll see later in this video, but I think they do look like Drew and Enya. But I was not going to draw this trinket shelf, no way. This one is another one I really like, so it's definitely up there in the ranking. I was scared of this one, I'm not gonna lie. I was posting these every day on TikTok, so I didn't know how this one would be received, but it's cringetober, right? You gotta embrace it. And I chose Charlie for this one again, because I really wanted to render a face. I was in the mood to do a nice rendering. So, fun fact, he's heavily based off of young Damon Albarn, co-creator of Gorillaz. So Charlie IRL is Damon Cannon. I often heavily reference his photos. I literally traced right off of his picture for guideline and reference, so he's got a good face. What can I say? Charlie over time is becoming a little troll or something because I think he likes to get a rise out of Bella like it's his only purpose. I also had to do a regular version because this has become my fave new drawing of Charlie recently. I don't know what to say. That is him. That's him. I really like how the little versions of Bella and Charlie turned out too. They're just so cute. Okay, I had the hardest time trying to find the original creator of this base. You know how Pinterest is. Art is rarely posted by the artist who made it. I've reverse image searched on Google, Pinterest, nothing. So if you are or know the creator, please tell me in the comments and I will credit them best I can after the fact. Here's Jane again. Can we get a Jane counter in the corner, please? Thank you. I chose Jane and Emmett for this one, though I did a little spin since I assume this one is supposed to be the dominant one. Ain't no way Jane is letting that happen. Their dynamic currently is very Jane saying something out of pocket and Emmett being appalled at her behavior, but at the same time he kind of likes it, you know? I love that dynamic. Again, these two are not canonically together, but who knows what could happen in their hypothetical comment that I create one day. Ooh, who knows? nose. The angles of these faces were a bit challenging for me. It's something I really need to work on. So I simplified their noses way more than I usually would because I could not figure out how to do it. So I apologize. They are so kicking my feet and twirling my hair core. I can't get over it. Moving on. I went back and forth on who to draw for this prompt. I don't have a crazy connection to any of the Tumblr sexy men except maybe some of the niche ones. Not saying that in a pretentious way or anything, just saying I wasn't really in that sphere when it was really popular. So I went with the ultimate in my opinion. This man made ripples on Tumblr. Oh my god. The Onceler, if you don't know, came from the Lorax movie in 2011 or 2012, and for some reason this man became the pinnacle of men for a lot of teens and preteens. Tumblr's known for shipping, and since you know there's not any other characters in the movie to ship him with, people started shipping him with himself. Yeah, desperate times call for desperate measures, I guess. This also sparked a megaverse of Onceler OCs that people made, and it's a gigantic rabbit hole. I really recommend the video by Sarah Z. She goes hard, and this video is a really fun watch, so I recommend that. I took a screenshot from the how bad could I be scene and basically redrew it in my style. I like this drawing a lot better than I thought I would. I started using chromatic aberration, and it does add a lot of interest. I liked it so much I added to almost all the drawings from this point forward, so yeah, I tend to latch onto things. Here he is in all his sexy men glory. Another one I didn't have a strong connection to. The only thing I could think of was maybe Jack Frost and Elsa. I kind of liked it, but it was too boring for me, so I tried to think of something else. Then it hit me. I was obsessed with Johnny Bravo and Velma as a kid. For some reason, Cartoon Network did a bunch of bumpers with them going out and being a couple. I don't know, but I loved it when I was little. There was also a Scooby-Doo crossover episode, and Velma was really into him. Little me discovering ships. I was like, oh. But when I posted this on TikTok, some people pointed out that Velma is canonically a lesbian now. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really know that before I made it. I knew her character was leaning towards it, but I didn't know they actually made it a thing, so yeah, oopsie. I'm just gonna say this is completely sectioned off in a specific time period of Scooby-Doo lore, and it's not something I'll indulge in again, but I really liked how this one turned out. It's one of my favorites visually. I think it's great that Velma finally has her identity. This is just a silly little prompt, and honestly, it's kind of a crack ship, let's be honest. It's just for shits and giggles. Now, I'm not a furry. I won't deny that I probably was at certain points when I was younger, but I currently don't identify as one. I wasn't sure if I should just make a character from the ground up based around myself, or if I should just use the Sona I usually use. I went with my Sona just because it was right there, and I thought she would translate well into an animal. But what animal? I think I can identify with a rabbit. I hear one noise from anyone and boom, I'm gone. I'm also a very jumpy person, so I thought, though it's a bit basic, I'll go with a bunny. My theory was correct. She did turn into a furry very easily. I also thought a rabbit would go well because of the ears. They captured the original silhouette pretty good, I think. I do regret one thing though. I did this in such a rush that day that I wasn't thinking that much about it, and I gave her boobas. I know that there's really nothing wrong with that. People make it work, but in hindsight, I would have just made it fluffy there, you know? She's cute though. Guys, should I turn into a furry PNG tuber and cross my arms when I'm upset? Okay, you guys are just mean today. God. Trigger warning for this one, if you're a bit squeamish to blood, you might want to skip ahead. It's not gory or anything, but it's just a bit splattered, but I understand, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, continuing on. I knew I wanted to draw some of my OCs again for this prompt, and the ones that made the most sense in my head was and Margot, because they have an interesting dynamic for sure. Is this how they are canonically? No, not at all. I don't think would ever go this far for anyone, but it's just for the prompt. So if you don't know, is a shapeshifter who helps oversee the timeline. He's not human and has to pose as a human to make sure things stay in line on Earth. He is posted at a church, so his main form is a priest named Father Simone. He can shift into anyone he wants to emulate, but the caretakers, that's what I'm calling this species, have a very off-putting way about them, and they are in the realm of uncanny valley when they shift into a human form. Margot is a rogue time traveler, so you can see that wouldn't like her very much, or that's what you think. Caretakers aren't supposed to like humans, so when takes a interest into Margot, it's a big no-no. Sorry if you already watched my redesign video, but I feel like I gotta explain these things. I chose to draw in his Father Simone form since he can't really be that expressive in his caretaker form, and I wanted him to have a deranged look, you know? Yeah, they have a weird thing going on, I don't know. Here it is. This one's meh. I'm gonna sound like a mega boomer for this one, folks, and I'm Gen Z. I have a deep love for this 80s sitcom, and yes, I wanted an excuse to talk about it, because I need to, okay? I want to preface this by saying this show obviously has not aged that great. I mean, what do you expect? It was in the 80s, but I think you can enjoy something and still see its faults, you know? As long as you know it's something dated and don't replicate it yourself, or think it's okay, then I think you can still see the great parts in a show or movie or whatever. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, let me tell you about this show. It's basically a goofy show about two investigators who have a lot of fights. Maddie, a former model who got all her money stolen from I don't remember who it was, like her manager or something, I forget. She has to go and liquidate all of her businesses for money since she has none left, and gets wrapped up in her own detective agency and starts working there full-time with her employee David Addison, who already was basically running the place. Maddie is David's boss, and I think that's really cool, putting a woman in a position of power. That was maybe a bit rare, at least in real life. I think they were trying to push a lot of girl boss power in the 80s, but I think it's cool. And it's not really talked about that much. It's just kind of there. It's not like, oh, I'm your boss. It's like, she is just the boss, and that's just how it is. And I think that's really cool. The characters of Maddie and David are so interesting to me and strangely complex. They argue and bicker, but they have these little things that you can really tell they care about each other, but just can't express it.
Do you really think I'm cold?
Did I say that?
Twice.
How could I say that? You cold? I'm burning up over here.
I love romance, we've covered that, and this show is not without that. Some of these concepts in these episodes come right out of a fan fiction, I swear. It's corny, yes. It's a fun watch, and the vibes are just, but I will say the quality does drop after the third season, so if for some reason you decide to watch this, it kind of goes downhill. I don't see this show talked about a lot, especially in my generation, which is fine, but I don't know, if you're interested in this after what I just said, give it a try, you might like it. I don't think I captured their likenesses very well, but I still like it. Okay, it's fine. You guys are probably getting whiplash at these wildly different topics, but it's kind of interesting, huh? I almost did Jeff the Killer for this one. I was this close, but I just wasn't feeling Jeffy. I knew of creepypastas when they were popular, but visually none of them really speak to me, so I went back to my roots. Cupcakes! If you were in the Brony fandom back in the day, you've heard of MLP creepypastas, Rainbow Factory, which has a banger song, by the way, Little Miss Rarity, the works, you know. Pinkamena is another one. The premise for most of these stories was goofy. I mean, they're literally ponies, but it could only really be scary to kids and would just be disturbing to adults, I guess. I remember seeing this YouTube video when I was younger, and I did not like it. I also changed the design of the sewn cutie mark dress because I thought it would interfere with the pose I chose, but I do realize it looks a little under-rendered, so yeah, sorry about that. Don't look that closely to that one. I also didn't do clean line art since I feel like this benefits with sketchy loose lines. I think my favorite thing about this one is the hair. I like how angular it is. I like really angular art recently. It's cool. Trigger warning again, if you don't like Candygore, skip this one. one. I don't like war art. I said it. I just don't enjoy it much. I don't mind if other people do it, and I think some pieces are really cool, but it's just not for me personally. I just don't enjoy drawing it at all. Unless it's just like a little blood splatter, it does nothing for me. So I wasn't looking forward to this, but I pushed through and chose another OC. This is my older character, Ruth, who is a part of my first ever attempt of making comics named Clown and Cowboy. I obviously didn't finish it, but I still really like this concept, and ooh, should I make a video redesign rewrite? This current design actually is a redesign of the original already, but I don't know. I think I still need to do a whole cleanse of this story. The basis was a clown and an outlawed cowboy running around having adventures in the 1900s. There's more to it obviously, but I won't go into the details too hard right now. We got a lot more to go through. Is her stomach anatomically correct? Not even close. I didn't want to make detailed guts at all, so I just went for a cross-sectioned ham look. Sorry if this one is a bit lackluster. I think she's cute though. Not bad, not bad. Halfway! Woo! By this point, I was getting a little sick of just illustrating, and I was itching to make an animatic. I actually love making animatics. I'm no animator, but there's something about completing an animatic that feels so good. So I thought, why not? This song is from a Hall & Oates album called Abandoned Luncheonette, which is really good if you like music like Supertramp or Little River Band. You'll like this album if you like that kind of stuff. I don't think I'll be able to play the audio because of copyright, but if you want to see the video, I'll post it on Shorts and it's on TikTok, so there you go. Again, this is Jane and Emmett. Add to that Jane counter. I just wanted to show that they're being a little goofy, singing along to a song together, because I could see this situation happening. Like, they both started off hating the song, then over time they've really got into it. I think that's cute. I was really scared I was biting off more than I could chew with this, since when I do animatics, I generally spend days or weeks on them, so it was really surprising to me I finished this in a day. It was a bit rougher than I wanted it to be, I'll admit, but I think it's pretty cute and I love them. I can't get enough of them, so yeah, here it is.
Had I known you had I known you better than before.
For this one, I had no idea what to do at all. I ended up looking up those circular profile picture things on Pinterest for some kind of inspiration. I found pictures of pool balls and I was like, yep, that's the one. I almost did another pool ball other than the 8 because I'm sure it's been done before, but the 8 ball is so recognizable, I had to do it. I also took another picture off Pinterest for the clothes, which really gave pool hall vibes in my opinion. I love that aesthetic, by the way. Is he a magic 8 ball? I don't know, maybe. I haven't thought that hard about this, I'll be honest, but what do you guys think about him? What should his name be? Let me know in the comments. This prompt was another one I was really looking forward to. I gotta draw the time travel OCs, come on now. I originally wanted to do 2 frames for this, you'll see in the sketch Emmett was going to be in it, but it ended up being too much for me that day, so I decided against it. But maybe I'll draw the other frames sometime in the future, who knows. The little story blip for this is Jane and Margot, who are in 1808 with Emmett, finally tell him that they are time travelers, and he has a bit of a freak out. I really like how the sky turned out for this. At this point, I was trying new ways to shade and add lighting, and I really like how this turned out. I don't usually do it like this anymore. I did more of a cell shading style. I would like to do more of these screenshot things. Hey, maybe I'll make a video or something. Who knows? This is a classic in the art community. It's a great thing to do if you have art block or don't know what to draw. It always makes me feel a bit better about my art if I'm feeling like it's not that great, and when you do it, you can really see how much you've improved, so it's a good exercise. I've done this a lot and have redrawn a lot of old art over the years, so I wanted to go outside the box and pick something I wouldn't usually go for. I looked at my old Instagram and found this old fan art I made for Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I was a really big John Hughes fan in middle school and early high school, to the point that I made it my personality. I chose this little drawing of Ferris, and this drawing was was in the era of me trying to capture people's likenesses better. Yeah, it doesn't really look like him, does it? Now, my style has changed a lot, obviously. For fan art like this, I tend to lean towards more realism nowadays, so that's what I did. I still don't think this drawing really looks like this character at all, but comparing it to the old one, I think it's a big improvement. If you've seen my Five Nights at Freddy's video that I recently uploaded, then you've already seen this artwork in a video. Okay, I was working on this video while doing this challenge, and I figured I might as well contribute to the video at the same time. If I wasn't making that video, I would have done something different for this day, but yeah, sorry. I think this was the most detailed piece I made out of all 31 days because I actually drew a background. It was really fun redesigning the puppet, even though I think it's one of my favorite designs in the franchise. I just added a bit more detail and tried to make it look a little more uncanny, though I don't think it's that different. I think if I went for a second pass, I would make the mask more humanoid. That's what I originally wanted to do, but I don't think I hold the skills currently. I gotta work on that, I guess. When I saw this one on the list, I didn't know what it was at all until I looked it up and I was like, oh, did this get popularized from Undertale? I feel like I saw some comic with this plotline. Let me know. I wasn't really in the Undertale fandom, so. This one is, I know, I drew Charlie. The next couple days are a bit mid because I was trying really hard to get other things done and I had to do other things other than this challenge, so it took a backseat. This doesn't look great. It doesn't make sense for Charlie's character either. I mean, the flowers represent unreciprocated love, and I think you can infer he does not suffer from that, but whatever. I wish I put more thought and that this was better, but for a marathon challenge, you just have to keep it pushing. I'm putting these two together because they were completed on the same day. Yeah, I missed a day. Oopsie. I was getting to the point where I was real tired of this challenge, but I was 20 days in. There was no way I wasn't finishing it now. I put effort into this 100% saturation, but not the maid dress so much, you know. I wanted to go for a scene look because I love this fashion style. It's not for me personally, but I feel I often express clothing and things I wouldn't usually wear through artwork, kind of living vicariously through it almost, if that makes sense. I don't know if all of this is actually 100% saturated, but I think it's pretty close. For the maid dress, I just did something silly. Emmett is angry because Jane put him in a maid dress. Not that thought out, I know, but my brain was barely functioning, I'll be honest. This is probably my least favorite artwork out of the challenge. I really hate the pose. It's stiff, doesn't look like Emmett to me, and the only positive thing I like is the expression I gave Jane and how I simplified her, but that's all. Yeah, get that icky, get it out, get it off the screen. I wanted my redemption this day, so I drew Emmett and Jane Charles. So I drew Emmett and Jane once more for this meme I found on Pinterest because it's so them, oh my god. I wanted this one to be much better than the day before, so I took my time and yeah, I think it worked out pretty well because I do really like how this turned out. I think I could have rendered the robe a little better, but overall I don't hate it, so that's a win in my book for sure. Alert, alert. They are not canon, but they are cuties. I don't have a lot to say. Where those kiss marks come from? That's weird. Who did that? Whoa, mystery. Woo. Now, I could have just drawn some of the main six, and I almost drew my redesigned Equestria girls. Who remembers that? It's been a while. Yeah, it's about time I revisited that series again, huh? I decided against that, though, since those designs have a lot of detail, and I was not in the mood. Morale was very low, people. So I went for another redraw, though this one was also a tiny redesign as well. I drew my most used pony OCs when I was in the fandom, Moon Mist and Fauna Dusk. Moon Mist was technically a self-insert, though let's be honest, it was mostly an OC, and Fauna was a deer princess thing, I don't know. Moon Mist was of course the daughter of Princess Luna, duh, and putting these two side by side made me realize I tend to go for the same design choices a lot. They have very similar hair, white with a colored streak. All I did was give them both a bit of a facelift, making Moon Mist's hair match mine a bit more in real life because she was supposed to be me technically. And Fauna, I gave more deer qualities over pony since that's just a pony with nose and a cropped tail. Come on. I think it's cute. Drawing ponies is always fun to do since it's not a lot of pressure and it feels very familiar to me. So now I thought Gijinkas were only Pokemon things at first, you know, humanoid Pokemon character designs. So I wasn't looking forward to this day. I'm not a big Pokemon person. I know, I'm sorry. I can appreciate it and I get what it's about, but it's not really for me. I was going to just push through and pick one that I liked visually, but then I found out I was very wrong because when researching I found it can be any non-human character as a human, and then I was excited. I love doing stuff like this. It's so fun because you can really be creative with ways to translate iconic features of whatever character you're doing into their clothing or hair or accessories. It's challenging, but also very enjoyable. I chose Bugs Bunny specifically, the version from the Looney Tunes show on Cartoon Network. I think this show wasn't well liked when it came out, but I loved it when I was a kid. The art style of the first season is so good, and I love that they made Bugs purple. I love the design he had the first season, though some didn't really like it. It really showed artistic vision, and he blends well with the world around him. Think when he turned back to gray in season 2, the colors don't go as well. It kind of looks icky to me and jumbled and oversaturated. But enough talking about colors and old cartoons, let's talk about my design. I wanted to go for a very domestic feel because Looney Tunes show definitely has that vibe, so Bugs is a normalish looking guy.
That's a white man.
I didn't go that complex with him, and I think it works. I tried to replicate the style of the show best I could, and man, was it fun to draw like this. I really need to explore more simplistic art styles because this day made me want to draw so much more. I forget how nice it is to simplify things and get something done quick, but still like it a lot visually. It also made me want to design the rest of the cast, so I'll probably do that in the future as well because it itched something in my brain that hadn't been itched in a while. Why is he kinda moving on? Another trigger warning for a bit of blood. I had trouble finding a clear definition of this prompt. I didn't know what it meant 100%. My best guess was something edgy for no reason, and that's what I went for. I love Germa.
Why do you look like this? Because I'm deranged right now, okay?
I'm sure a lot of people do. And I'm sure a lot of people know I love him because I draw him a lot on TikTok. I watch him a lot, and he's really the only Twitch streamer I will watch out of anyone. If he wasn't streaming, I wouldn't use Twitch at all. Anyway, I've drawn him a lot, and it had been a while, so I said, hey, why not? There's a funny deepfake video of Germa and Vinny in American Psycho, the movie, the Huey Lewis and the News scene. I loved that video so much. I really like American Psycho, not in the Sigma way, in the he's a little meow meow way or something, I don't know. So I decided to draw Germanian Psycho, and I think this encapsulates all edge, no point pretty well, by the definition I'm using at least. I just took a screenshot and redrew it in my style. Here he is. What a psycho. I apologize in advance for this one. Y'all know who I'm drawing at this point. Yeah, it's Charlie. Yeah, yep. I can't help it. He is the baby girl. He is the baby girl. I know there's a lot of poses that can qualify as a quote-unquote baby girl pose, but if you've been on Twitter, you know that there's one in particular that is the most used one, so I had to go with it. Even though this one is not that special, I do like how the artwork turned out. I think it's a pretty good Charlie face, and I'll give it a thumbs up. I even gave a little peek for y'all. You're welcome. Moving on. I decided for alt fashion, I would draw one of my neglected OCs, Mina. I don't know if any of you remember her, but she was in a video I previously made. She's in the same universe as Bella and Charlie, and is in Charlie's band as a drummer. Like I said, I need to revisit this story. I think it's hard to take something you've had for so long and make a lot of changes to it because you're so connected to what they are, but it's gotta be done, and I think it'll be for the better. I found this outfit on Pinterest, and it seemed to fit her vibe. I think out of most of my characters, she has the most alternative styles. Well, you know what? all of my characters kind of have somewhat of an alt style compared to what is the norm, I guess, but in the art world, they're fairly normal, I guess. This is another kind of simple one. I don't have a lot to say about it. I did try a jean texture though, which I've never done before, and I think it turned out okay. Let me know what you guys think. I had no idea what to do for this. I feel like I start off every paragraph with the same phrase, but for a lot of these days at the end, I was just like, I don't know, my brain was shut off. So the prompt said bonus points for a woman, but that didn't really help me either. I don't really find any of the Disney villains hot, and I feel like that's what everyone's mind goes to when they think villain. So I had to go a little niche with this one. I decided to draw Sebastian from Cruel Intentions because when I don't know what to draw, one of my go-tos is always portrait renderings because they're pretty straightforward and it's good practice for facial structure, so I like doing them. I think this fan art is one of the best likenesses I captured out of all the portraits I did except for maybe Germa or Drew and Enya. This one made me realize how much I like those glasses, and I think I need to draw Charlie with these glasses now, but that's besides the point. The hair, on the other hand, yeah, that's not my best work. I have a complicated relationship with hair. Sometimes I really like drawing it, and it turns out how I want, and sometimes it does not at all. If you don't look that closely, it looks fine, but you can obviously see I just put a blur over the rendering I did. I'm not proud of myself. It was very lazy, but I was very done with this challenge. You can punish me accordingly, decide in the comments. Now, if I didn't make a bunch of Five Nights at Freddy's fan art at this point, I would have drawn more Five Nights at Freddy's, I think, but I was very burnt out from that franchise, so I went with someone who's been all over my For You page on TikTok, Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat.
Get over here!
I have never touched a Mortal Kombat game, and I most likely will never play one, but I do love me some Johnny Cage. I didn't know this character existed in this universe until the most recent Mortal Kombat, but he looks really good in this game. And I was like, oh, hello, sir. Sorry to Mortal Kombat fans, but I'm just not a big fighting game person. It's not really my thing. I'm definitely a casual gamer, and I'm not afraid to admit that. But with all that said, I don't really like how this one came out. Again, another portrait because I'm very burnt out at this point. It's not the worst, but I don't really think it looks like him, and I'm really sad because I wanted it to be good, but you win some, you lose some. I'll probably try to redraw this in a couple months again. I'm sorry, Johnny. I'm sorry, Johnny Cage. Forgive me, I tried my best. And finally, can I get some celebration? We made it. This is the last day. The first ever monthly challenge I've ever completed. We made it, guys. We made it. And I feel really good about it for once. Should I have tried to post this video in October? Yes. Kind of wish it was an October video, but the prompts weren't seasonal or anything. I don't know. I don't think it needed to be posted in October. This is the only prompt that is actually seasonal, so I apologize. I hope you can forgive me for drawing a Halloween drawing in November. It is what it is. This was another redraw. Yay! I drew this picture in 2021 of my OCs in their Halloween costumes. This is Mina, Gabe, Bella, and Charlie. I was really proud of this when I first drew it, but now I hate it, so I'm gonna give it another try. This one was the most late out of all the days. I think I finished this a day or two after the 31st. It was partially because I didn't anticipate that drawing 4 characters would take longer than what I was doing before. I never really exceeded more than 3, and I wanted this one to be decent, so I took my time on it. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't promising at first. I didn't think I was gonna like this one, but I like it enough. I kept the Halloween costumes similar to the original drawing because I didn't want to design new ones. I mean, they're right there, and I think they're pretty good overall, except Charlie's. I changed his because that scarecrow was not doing it for me. I could have improved it, but I just hated the way Charlie looked in this. Ew. I changed him to a cowboy because I think think it's kind of a similar vibe, and I think it fits him more than the Scarecrow did. Also, look how big his feet were. What the fwig? What the fwig? I changed the composition because although I think full body group shots are possible, I don't think this one works too well. I feel like the characters are way too far away and it feels like they're standing in a line, so I kind of stacked them on top of each other and made it so Bella and Charlie were interacting and Gabe and Mina were interacting. I think they're so cute, and I think you can see the improvement, especially in the faces, compared to the 2021 drawings. The old drawing was definitely a phase I had where I wasn't really trying to improve my artwork. I just thought it was good enough, so I started holding on to some bad habits. But for the past year or two, I've really tried to do more studies and use more references to try and help out my style. I hope you can tell. There is the final piece of artwork! Whoa! I'll give myself a little pat on the back for this month. It was hard, but I'll be honest, I rarely lost motivation for this, and that is a miracle because I almost always lose motivation through a long-term project. I think it was partially because of the prompt list. Most of these days really spoke to me and got my juices flowing, but if you look at some other prompt lists, like Inktober, which are supposed to be more vague for interpretation, it usually lost me, so I'm happy it was a good experience for the most part. I know this video was a lot. I'm sure a lot of you got whiplash from the varying topics. Leave a comment on which day was your favorite if you made it this far. More content coming soon. Thank you all so much for 15,000. Oh my god. I gotta start doing like something special. Like when I hit 20k, I'm doing something special. Hold me to that. I know I've been posting less often, but I find that I can put more effort into a video if I take more time on it. So I don't know, I'm kind of liking the random schedule I'm on right now. I hope you all have a good one, and as always, peace!